Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we're going to preview Fight to Win 182 in, where's that?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, and my co-host,
Miranda.
We also have a bunch of other events coming up too. It was a smaller show this week, so we actually pulled through a huge number of upcoming events that we're going to talk about. And I am excited. Before we get into that, let's do a little bit of news. How's your week been, first of all?
Pretty good.
Good. Biggest news is let's start with MMA news first because get it out of the way before we move into jiu-jitsu. We now have an opponent for Buchecha's MMA debut.
Yes, we do. Thomas Narmo.
He is a former pro hockey player. He's now 4-0. Miranda sent me a 4-minute supercut of his last fight in 1FC. And
it's interesting.
A little rough.
Even as someone who doesn't really understand striking very well, I know that it's not quality striking right there.
Somebody think there was a comment that was like, he's the Ben Askren of 1FC. And I went, ooh, that's really bad considering Askren did fight in 1FC.
He did. He did relatively well in 1FC.
Relatively,
yeah.
I'm just really curious to see if Buchecha can get him down because he was in the fight that I saw.
It was mostly standing.
But when he was on the ground, didn't look super great. He finishes the first round in mount, getting ground and pounded before he gets out.
He's also ginormous.
He's huge.
Yeah.
But so is Buchecha.
Yeah, true.
So he gets his back taken, and then he's able to get out, and he actually wins that fight via DQ for groin kick.
Yes.
The guy kicked
he doesn't win it. It's no contest.
No, it was
a no contest.
I thought it was
the most recent fight's a no contest, and then he has 4 wins prior to that contest.
With a mixture of submissions and ground and pound. So looking at that fight, we don't which fight that was. That was the most recent one, right?
Which one? The one that
no contest. Where he gets kicked in the groin. Okay,
yeah.
So that's Buchecha's opponent. That's what we know about him so far from what I've looked up. Again, the guy's 4-0 as a pro. Buchecha is 0-0. Also, the guy has an amateur record as well. So. Yeah. The guy definitely has combat sports experience. I'm very curious to see if Buchecha is going to have more success, kind of like Garry Tonon going into 1FC, implement his wrestling, striking, get to the ground, or if he's going to kind of go the Yuri Simoes way, have a really tough fight and get, TKO'd when he's unable to get to the ground. Yuri fought like a wrestler.
I didn't see that Narmo has a lot of power behind what he's punching. He's kind of throwing it, but it didn't look like he had a lot.
He's big and strong.
Yeah, but it didn't look like he was the guy he was going against wasn't a big, strong man. He was a smaller man, which is probably still ginormous
he was
compared
probably
to
a 240 heavyweight still. But
I mean, he was still smaller than him, and it didn't. It wasn't.
I think Buchecha's going to have size parity with him, and so again, it seems like a good matchup for Buchecha, but that was the big news this week. Is I look at the guy he's fighting, and I think 3 or 4 different people messaged me pictures of the card. Of that. Have you seen this? Yes, I've seen this. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
He's the last Viking.
Yeah, that's the guy who's fighting. He's the last Viking, and you're fighting a guy named Chubby Cheeks.
Yeah,
I think that's the translation of Buchecha, right? It's like cheeks, I think.
I do not know.
Yeah, I think that's the Brazilian translation of Buchecha. Is like cheeks or like chubby cheeks.
So it's Chubby Cheeks versus the Viking.
The last Viking.
The last Viking.
So that's the news for 1FC. Other MMA news. Damian Maia you said he got cut from UFC?
Yeah, today.
Okay.
A couple hours ago.
Because he was talking about wanting to do one more retirement fight into the UFC.
And then I think they did cuts today because there's somebody else. I saw somebody else get cut too. So I think the cut list, whatever the cut list is, came out today. And he was part of that list.
Maya had talked about doing more grappling, though. And I'm curious. Actually, we looked at it before the show, because the pre-show, because we wanted to make sure we had all our ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And before the show goes completely off the rails, as it will, with a preview-only show.
Yeah.
I was like, I think his last fight, jiu-jitsu fight, was ADCC 2000. I was like, I think it was 7.
And you were correct.
And you looked it up and validated me. He fought Lovato in that, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He beat Lovato.
Yeah.
But again, that was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
That was his last grappling match professionally.
14
years ago. Again, I'd love to see Maia transition back over. I think it'd be really interesting. He has showed that he is definitely one of the better grapplers in MMA. I thought he was 43.
Yeah, he's 43.
43 years old. One of the better grapplers in MMA. I just am curious to see. I think Fight to Win would be able to have some great matches with him.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have the Masters Plus titles.
Yeah,
Masters titles.
And start there. I mean, before he goes into anything too deep.
Goes in back in adult heavy. Yeah. Adult, what is he, probably jiu-jitsu, 205, probably
Yeah.
light heavyweight
Yeah.
competition jiu-jitsu. I'd much rather see him versus like guys at Masters and that,
Oh, yeah.
just to see where he's at and kind of honoring him back. If he does wish to do more jiu-jitsu and like compete in jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
there's avenues for him to do that now, and there weren't, 15 years ago. So I hope he doesn't jump back into the deep end, because I don't see that going super well. And I'm a big fan of Damian Maia. I would love to see him,
But I don't want to see him get destroyed in 30 seconds against an adult.
against like Hulk or some
205er.
shit.
Yeah.
You're like, hey,
Hulk, I saw something that said Hulk is transitioning to MMA.
He is too. Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. He's been doing, but he's been
But I
doing
could see him. He's going to have an easy transition. His style I think, works well.
It all depends
He's
on your
grindy.
all depends on your striking.
Yeah, true.
All depends on your
True.
striking and your top
But
game.
if he sets up a 1-2.
There's a bunch. I mean, Najmi's transitioning over.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys are making the switch over. Because again, there's so much more money in it. So it's curious to see guys
at like a 1FC
at
Bellator level.
anything.
At UFC, their contracts right now are kind of
They're under some fire for their pay structure.
for the amount of money that they can make at Bellator. They can make a lot more money at Bellator.
Well,
I
they
would
can make
assume.
if you're a huge star, but if you're like
Some of these guys
a
are
regular
yeah.
guy, I mean, a lot of Bellator fights, guys are getting like 500.
Then go to 1FC and freaking.
If you're a
yeah.
star, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the pay structure right now is interesting.
Yeah.
But I think guys can definitely transition over and and make a ton of money if you're a star. Like, I
Yeah.
think Hulk could go over, and again, but it's like Buchecha's doing it. Like
Yeah.
they can make a lot of money with the skill set that they have. It's just not available in grappling. Like ADCC and who's number one are now the biggest purses in Spider. That's $100,000 to win like a big hard tournament, and that's the biggest prize we've ever seen.
Yeah.
We saw a big prize for what is it, Black Belt CBD a couple years
Yeah.
ago, and but those are $100,000 prizes. Damian Maia, we looked at his oldest disclosed purse that we saw was I think 78.
Yeah.
So it was like 160,000.
Yeah.
That's just not available in jiu-jitsu
Oh no.
nowadays. So
no, not at all.
sucks to see him get cut from the UFC, but hopefully we'll be able to see his great jiu-jitsu come back into play, because he was always kind of one of the big what ifs. They talk about training with him and Marcelo back in the day. They talk about he's like, had he not gone to MMA, who'd have been best ever, because he's just like so good. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
What else do we got? We had the first female coral belt get promoted. Sorry, the first female to ever achieve the rank of coral belt in jiu-jitsu happened this week, and
Yeah.
that's really cool. Yvonne Duarte, Gracie Barra, black belt, got her black belt in 1990.
Is it Gracie Baja or is it Gracie Barra?
I don't know. I've pronounced I've pronounced it wrong the
I think
entire time.
I'm pretty sure it's Baja.
Gracie Baja.
Yeah.
But I've had Brazilians say it either way. Like I started at a GB. Like that's where I
Okay.
started, and then we transitioned out of GB and into something else. Basically, we left GB.
Oh, okay.
So I have a bunch of gis in the house still that are like old GB gis, and I've heard it called Gracie Baja. I've heard it called Gracie Bada, and at this point I don't know anymore, so
Okay.
I just call it the wrong thing.
Okay, that works.
She started training back in 1978, black belt in 1990, and then now I think what's coral belt? Is it?
30 years?
I mean, obviously, 30 years
Yeah.
as a black belt, and that's like,
Because it's a time thing. It's not
it's a time thing.
It's not
I think the youngest you can get coral belt, I think, is 63.
I don't
If
know.
you get black belt at 19
True.
and then 30,
No.
I'm not a big math guy.
If you get it 19, then 49.
I don't know.
But that doesn't seem right.
Red belt? Red belt 63.
Oh, okay.
Red belt 63. Coral belt is a younger age. So yeah, it's super cool. Like it is really cool to be part of the sport when this stuff is happening. Where it's like, oh cool, I was around in training.
And that's a long time.
When the first
From
female coral belt.
1978?
Yeah, you've
For a
been
female?
training.
Yeah, she's seen some shit.
Yeah, you saw jiu-jitsu in the 70s.
Yeah.
When they were like the Gracies. That's it.
I can imagine she had to have fought dudes. Like if she ever competed, she
Yeah.
had to go against dudes for years,
Yeah.
which probably made her
You were the
freaking
only one.
badass as hell.
So
Yeah.
that's super cool. It gives you some perspective. I mean, even as long as we're doing the show for 5 years, it's really cool to see how the sport has changed in even 5 years of like the professional side of the sport. I can't imagine, what it was like as a woman training back then, and then getting your black belt in 1990, and then being literally the pioneer.
Yeah.
As far as like first over the line for coral belt, it's a cool time to be alive.
Yeah, true.
What else? We have a bunch of other events coming up. I realize that these are all out of order. So let's start at the top where I have it. September 24th, we have a new event coming out. It is Grapple in the Temple. And that is David Garmo versus Mateus Diniz. I'm not sure if Garmo's putting this on because it's in Detroit.
Yeah.
So they got him. I don't know if it's because Garmo previously has run events. He ran Modern Flow, and he ran like those invitationals before.
I didn't really know this tournament existed until we.
Well, it's on Flow. I mean, they're broadcasting on Flow, and I saw it a couple of weeks ago, and I clicked on it, and I was like, oh, there's nothing. And Miranda was like, did you check Google or Instagram? And I was like, I actually didn't.
Well, I was curious what temple they were fighting in.
Where they fighting in?
The Masonic Temple in Detroit. It's allegedly some famous, huge place.
That's kind of a cool venue for a jiu-jitsu event.
Oh, yeah. There was an advertisement that kept on going on Flow of a seminar. It was like a week-long seminar that was in a castle
in
Texas. Too. And I was like, oh, I want to...
It was in Texas?
Yeah, it was in Texas. Oh. I looked it up because I was like, hey, I think I could probably do that. You do a lot. You went to a seminar this weekend. Yeah, we'll talk about the outro. You went to a Jeff Glover seminar. Yep. I try to, get around and see different styles.
You went to Hanger seminar last week.
I did.
Glover seminar this week.
Yeah, but I don't have anything else for a while.
For like 3 weeks, and then you'll find something else.
Yeah, I'll find somebody. I'll be like, whoa, such and so is going to be there. Let's go.
That's a tough match 88 for Garmo.
Yeah.
Again, we just saw Mateus win and then lose versus Hulk.
Yeah.
After choking Hulk unconscious, and then Hulk was like, actually, I won.
Yeah.
And that kind of made everyone go, So a tough match for Garmo. I think Garmo's most recent match was against, was it Wiltsey? Was it Barch? At who's number one? I forget. I didn't pull his record before.
I think it was Bart.
I think they're both coming off of I think the previous Mateus match would have been against Gordon, so they're both coming off essentially loss aside from the Hulk match that was a win, untechnically.
Yeah, but then didn't he do Fight to Win recently? He was like a main event.
He might have. I don't remember offhand.
I want to say no. He did. He did. Who's number one? The week after I went to Marcelo because
because he did classes, right? You talked about that.
Because he taught gi class, and then the next day he was leaving to go road to ADCC, not who's number one. He did road to ADCC. He went against. I don't know who he went against.
Wasn't Craig?
No.
I'm putting me on the spot now with like my job to remember all of the names and all of the matches.
I know because I'm horrible with names, but I remember this happening. I will go back through my notes.
So we'll come back to that. Notes. It's a super tough match at 88 for Garmo. But it'd be cool to see Mateus.
He went against Kenyon Duarte.
Duarte
like killed.
He cloverleafed him with the quickness in 2 minutes and 4 seconds.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So both coming off of a little bit of a rough patch. It'll be interesting to see, Mateus and Garmo back in there. Again, this is a really tough one for Garmo, but potentially an opportunity to kind of move back up into the higher rankings. We pulled the rankings earlier today for Flow, and they're interesting. We have a bunch of Combat Jiu-Jitsu events. We're probably not going to cover them, but there's one that's really interesting. They're doing a Medusa event, which is what they're calling the female Combat Jiu-Jitsu events. It takes place on October 2nd. On October 3rd, they're running the men's middleweight CJJ that has like Jimenez in it, and that's like actually has a whole host of names. Was Rotolo in that? Do you remember?
I don't think so, but I would think he would be. I mean, he is a champion in their circuit.
Roberto Jimenez, Kyle Chambers, William Tackett, Ty Rotolo, Hunter Colvin's in there, Benji Silva's in there, Justin Rennick's in there, Ben Dyson's in there. Like that's a really, really stacked event. They don't have it's weird they don't have the purses listed anymore for that. And I'm kind of curious to see if I assume that's still disclosed, but it's not in the forefront, which I think is kind of interesting now.
No, it's not.
And then we also have the welterweight competition that takes place on September 5th. We don't have any. Weirdly enough, we don't have a ton of names we recognize. That seems to be mostly MMA people on that one, and not a hugely like jiu-jitsu focused.
And that's the Tijuana one. The other two are Cancun, and that one's Tijuana.
Yeah, we thought that was interesting.
Interesting.
We're like, that's weird to go to Tijuana.
It's an interesting place to have a combat jiu-jitsu match.
It's an interesting place in general.
Yeah.
Shout out to you if you're from Tijuana. Good luck. Also taking place on that week of September is Pans. This is Gi Pans, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay,
because No Gi Pans just happened. No Gi Pans is October.
So there's No Gi Pans?
No, this is September, so this is Gi Pans.
Okay.
Because No Gi Pans is...
You do not have a ton of confidence. You're trying to convince me, but there's not a whole lot of confidence there.
I was just looking at the IBJJF events
I have
recently.
the registrations open, So it says pans. It doesn't say no gi pans. It says pans. Yeah, of course it's gi pans. We're gonna preview gi pans more so in a couple, probably. What is it? Yeah, this next week we'll preview pans. We luckily do have all of the rosters out. It was a pretty hugely attended event. Mayo Roosters got 10. Light Feather has 19. Feather has 34 for adult men's black belts.
Wow.
Light has 30 registrations. Ooh. This is like a full-size pans event. Middle has 26. Medium heavy is 22.
It's nice to see that they're actually all coming out again.
Yeah. Heavy is 16 guys. Super heavy is 14. Ultra heavy is 8. And the women's have, some events, some divisions with 7. We have 3 or 4 divisions with 7. We have a division middle heavy for women. Middle has 10. Medium heavy and heavy are 6. So it's like, it's pretty well attended. It will be the first major that we have covered in there are 45 matches I need to watch this weekend. In a while, so that will be fun.
I just normally leave it on, and then I just watch it throughout the day as I do other things.
I do
unless
that.
Something happens.
But the problem is, halfway through it, I realize I'm not getting anything done, and I'm just watching, and I got to bring have a notepad out, and then I always have all of my screens open. I have on one screen is all of the brackets, and I pull out all the brackets for all the black belts, for the men's and the women's. I usually have those in 2 separate tabs, and then I pull out a note sheet on one screen. If you can see the video here for YouTube, there are 3 screens here. This is where I watch it.
Yeah.
And then I'll put the video on one screen in the flow zone with 4 or 6 mats open, and then I'll have a notes page, and then I'll have bracket information and notes about matches to talk about.
I normally have the bracket on my phone, and then I watch it on my TV.
Oh, you have the brackets on your phone?
Yeah, I normally go through the brackets on my phone. I have a laptop. I can't watch matches and flick back and forth. Drive me
hook
crazy.
Screens to your laptop.
I have an extra screen, but I use it for work, and I guess I might have to take my work area and make it a little. That's
what I do here. Yeah. In my home office that turns into the podcast studio that turns into my jiu-jitsu viewing place. Other news, so that's Pans. Super excited about Pans in 2 weeks. We have B Team Jiu-Jitsu. That is Craig Jones, Ethan Crellenston, Nick Rodriguez, and
Nikki Ryan.
Yeah. In Austin, Texas, they now have a space. They now have an Instagram, and it looks like that's a real thing. They seem to have separated over kind of seemed like some personal issues because some folks on that team made some comments. Yeah. And again, they are all keeping it professional, which I appreciate. But it seems like there was some personal tension there. They've separated, and they've legitimately. They've started their own spot, and I think Craig has come out and gone, it's not a marketing thing.
Yeah, he's doing a real thing.
We're making our.
He says he's doing a real thing, and he's in a Speedo and assless chaps.
So, and he has a Texas flag there, and his promo. Craig Jones promos are always I always appreciate the effort that he puts into those promos because they make me laugh.
They do,
and
they do.
With everything going on in jiu-jitsu, it always is a little. It's lighthearted to have a Craig Jones post where it's Craig Jones, why do you have no pants on? So that's B Team Jiu-Jitsu.
I'm completely fine with him never wearing pants. He can just be in a Speedo.
I love his big ass octopus tattoo, the Arte Suave tattoo. Yeah, that's such a cool. It's funny, that's a big piece of art, and he has very few other tattoos, and it just makes me laugh that that's a big chest piece. Well, and then a rib chest piece, and that's all he has.
Or at least he didn't go over the top and cover himself head to toe, every square inch of his body.
Yeah, I like the one. It's classy. It's a big purple octopus. Yeah. If you've ever seen my house, a quarter of the artwork in my house is big octopuses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never really noticed that.
Well, all upstairs.
I'm staring at octopus.
Yeah, there's an octopus on the big mouse pad I have. There's 4 octopuses upstairs. There's one in the bathroom. Yeah. Rachel and I can agree on octopus art. So I'm a fan of the octopus and other sea critters. Okay. So yeah, Team Jiu-Jitsu now a thing. I think they're in North Austin. I think is where they said they're going to be. They're
outside of Austin. That's all I remember seeing.
Yeah, North Austin's actually a smaller town. They have just a bunch of adjacent towns.
Yeah, I went to. What did I go to? I went to.
I've been to Austin a bunch. I've never trained in Austin.
I've never trained there. I went to an event at 10th Planet at their. At 10th Planet Austin. It was an EBI feeder, but I forget.
Was it on an invitational?
I think it was.
Yeah, we used to cover that.
It was one of their women's bracketed ones. Okay. Where they had all the women.
Yeah, that was actually a really fun event. Yeah. We covered that. Probably 2019. Yeah. We would have covered that.
It was a fun place
On
to go.
Invitational was fun. I wish they would run those back because they were they did a really good job showcasing grapplers that I'd kind of seen a little bit or heard about.
Well, a lot of blue belts and purple belts.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Or at least for the women, they did that, which was good because
a lot of people that we would see for years to come were kind of like my first introduction on like a big card was on it, and I always appreciated like what they did.
The only thing that sucked is their food was horrible. Like it was all this very, I guess probably high dollar like fancy stuff, but they didn't have like normal stuff.
They didn't have normal people food.
So yeah,
they
so it was like
food that we
no,
eat.
they didn't have trashy food. So trying to eat there was ridiculous.
We have, speaking of guys that are going to ADCC, ADCC is September 18th. I think if that's for the African and the Middle Eastern and the not Asian trials, just African, Middle Eastern, European trials.
Yeah.
Is European trials too or no?
I think it's European.
Okay.
I think it's September African, 18th. European, and Middle.
I am so excited for the trials. The trials are some of my favorite events. If you've never watched an ADCC trials, strap in for it. Commit your weekend, honestly, and just enjoy and watch our division. Because there are always stories that happen in trials because trials are a way to get into the biggest event in the world.
Yeah.
And Mo Jassim, the event runner for ADCC, has very openly talked about and really pushed, like, you will not get an invitation unless you do trials.
Yeah.
So even if, like, you're really good, like, if you don't do trials, that shows us that you do not want to go do the event because ADCC is so different. So he's been super adamant the past couple of years. He was adamant leading up to 2017, 2018, 2019, and he ran the event to 2019. He was adamant about like people doing trials to get into the event. He is super adamant about it for the invitation because the invitation slots are so competitive now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's like, doing trials shows us that you want to do it. He goes, there's a lot of guys, like veterans, that we are not going to invite back. Like, if you want to get into ADCC, show us you want to do it by doing trials. So,
and I like that idea.
I like it too because
I like him to fight in.
It shows you, like, fight in, and then also, like, being a trials winner still really means something.
Oh, yeah.
And I also love that, like, anyone can do trials. It's like, it's $100, and it's like, you think you can be the best in the world?
I like that it's geographic locations.
Yeah. I mean, the whole trial system is awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun that you have to be from that area and have...
You have to show your passport.
Yeah, you have to have documentation that you're from the area that you're about to compete in, which I always thought was a fun thing. That way somebody couldn't be it completely.
You can't go to all the trials. Like, you have an option.
Or you can't jump to, like, the Asian trials.
Which are historically a little weaker, yeah.
Yeah.
It's super cool. The trials are awesome. They're coming up finally. They're going to run. Are they in Poland, I think? For some reason, I think they're in Poland. There's discussion about moving them because there's weird stuff happening in Europe right now, but they are on as of now. If you want to get an ADCC and you're in Europe...
One day I should go for my homeland of Poland.
You should go.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm slightly Polish.
Maybe not now.
Not completely Polish, but slightly Polish.
Look, I'll give you a camera. You have a camera. Like, hey, do some interviews when you're in Poland. Here's a sticker for the Grappling Miranda podcast.
Yay.
So that's fun. Super amped about that. Cannot wait to do that show. Even after, actually, in a couple of weeks in October, we have Sug has announced the match that I wanted to see, Mason Fowler versus Kyle Boehm. This is the EBI match to make. If you're going to make a match with two dudes who are master at heavyweight EBI rules, it's these guys. Like, Fowler took the belt off of Craig in the EBI overtime. He played it safe, got to overtime, tapped him in overtime once, twice-ish. Yeah. And Boehm is a guy, we saw him win the BJJ Fanatics Brown Belt GP, or the Openweight GP, the Black Belt GP. We've seen him do work
and this
in
is
Sug.
This is an open weight fight, right?
It's an absolute fight. It's an absolute open weight. So this is for the title that Fowler holds currently, that he's just been like running through folks for, I think he took it off Craig and he's had it since then. I think he beat Mourinho, he beat Varela, like he's beat everyone that I would want to see fight in the EBI format. Again, I would like to, I've talked about this openly, like that I'm not a huge fan of the format personally. I would love to see Sug extend the match to at least a 10-minute match, especially with, high-level guys like this. Give them more time to open up, give them more time to get working. Boehm and Fowler are guys that in the EBI rule set typically don't go out super, super hard initially when they're matched up against high-level competition. They'll both go out and crush when they're against guys that they know that they can move
they're
going
to feel the other one out.
Yeah. But
and it might take a little time to feel them out.
With a guy like Fowler, I think they're definitely going to... they're definitely both going to slow the pace down there, and I would love to see them have 10 minutes to work. Again, there's issues that I have with the EBI format, but if you're going to have an EBI format match, this is the match to make. It's October 10th. I don't think we have any other matches on the card, right? Did you see anything else?
No, I didn't see anything else at all.
Yeah, so right now, that's what we got. And yeah, it should be fun. So, do you have any other news? We kind of went through everything. I don't have any other upcoming events. We have a couple fight to wins, but we're going to preview those as we get into them. I don't think BJJ, there's any other events that we're not talking about. Pans is coming up, and then that's we have Who's Number One coming up end of September, which we'll preview in detail before that event. So I think we should move on to the preview. Let's move on to the preview of Fight to Win
182.
Is it 182 or 181?
182. East Bay, San Francisco.
Where do you want to start with this one? You have a matchup you want to start off with first?
I will start with the main event. Why not?
Who's the main event?
Main event is Davi Ramos and Dante Leon.
This is a tough one for Ramos.
Yeah, it is.
I think we saw last time we saw Ramos was it was Pedro Mourinho at Fight to Win 177. He loses the referee's decision to Pedro Mourinho.
Yeah.
Previously, we saw him at Fight to Win 132 in 2019 lose the referee's decision to Garry Tonon. Previously, we saw him ACBJJ 14 versus Lucas Lepre, lose on points. He's previously beaten Lepre mainly in that big ADCC, was it 2015 highlight flying armbar. But he's been on a bit of a slide recently. I think this is a really tough match. Dante again has had a little bit of problem here and there.
Where does his Ramos has a MMA record? Like he fought in the UFC.
He fights in the UFC.
He's not. Everything I saw said former, which made me think that he doesn't fight with them. But he was 10-4 in MMA.
Yeah, he's a good.
But does that
fall
in the midst of all of the grappling?
Yeah.
Doing both at the same time.
He mostly fought MMA, but he did do. He was grappling at the time, but he was mostly fighting MMA at that time. Versus Leon's just been grappling. Yeah. His last match was with Nicky Ryan. And he loses that one. Previously, he lost a split decision to not Philo. That was...
He lost to...
Hibamar, yeah. I was forgetting they list him as Philo, that's his actual last name. And then previous to that, he lost a decision to Roberto Jimenez, but he did beat Cody Steele in 2020. He lost to Garry Tonon, so they both have losses to Tonon in the last 2 years. But then he has that streak in 2020 and 2018 he went on where he wins over... We have a triangle win over Johnny Tama. We have a decision win over Ty Rotolo, which I think we'll see a different Rotolo than if they were a rematch definitely. Now. But at the time, that Grapple Fest, he really took Rotolo out of his game, and he was able to really put a veteran pace on Rotolo in that 20-minute match and take the decision from him.
20 minutes is a long time, too.
That's what Dante did. Dante, Rotolo's going to come out so aggressively. Yeah. He slowed him down. It was really good game planning from Dante there. I was at his Hanato Canuto match. That was a really, really good match. We have a great image Emil actually shot a really good image of Dante going for a knee bar on Canuto. It resulted in the sweep. Again, this is for me really an activity pick. I think Ramos...
They're both going to be aggressive. They're both going to come out aggressive.
I think Dante's just been doing more recently.
He has.
He's more familiar with the current kind of no-gi meta there. I think Ramos in his last match versus Mourinho was really kind of tentative. Mourinho's another guy known to come out aggressive, but he's sort of quelled that a little bit. And I think Dante has a little bit too, but I think Dante is a guy that towards the end of the match late is much more willing to open up. And again, Ramos can throw the flying armbar or the flying triangle from the guard if Dante does decide to sit. But Dante's been lifting a ton. He's been getting bigger. And I assume that we're going to see Dante try to impose his wrestling and really start to push that as an edge on Ramos.
Which is a good game plan for it.
Yeah. I just see Leon taking this one. I can see a pathway for Ramos to take this one, but I just see Leon's activity, his pace.
Dante Leon's been competing nonstop.
Yeah,
and for quite a while.
He's super familiar with the Fight to Win rule set. Yeah. And he has a style that I think works really well for the Fight to Win rule set. And Ramos has a bunch of matches in Fight to Win, but I just think that Leon, unless he decides to play a really heavy butterfly guard game, and Ramos again dives over the top like he did with Lepre, but I think Dante is a veteran enough to know that is a thing that Ramos will throw and tends to throw every match on a seated guard player. He's not going to extend and put himself in a position to do that, or he'll do it for a bait to try to come on top.
In all honesty, if he's a smart competitor, he's going to watch it and he's going to understand what the trigger is or how he sets it up, and be at least able to to call that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting things that when Ramos does throw that is like he specifically doesn't have a huge trigger for it. Kind of like the same thing with Najmi when he throws the triangles. Like he sort of like gets his grips and then just jumps into you. Yeah. But yeah, I think there definitely is a setup there that he hits prior to like showing you he's going to do it. And I think Leon will pick up on. I foresee Leon trying to wrestle with him. Again, Davi's been fighting MMA for a long time. Uses the cage a lot. I think that
there's no
Dante
cage,
will just be. I think Dante would just be. They're both veterans, but I just think Dante is going to lean on him and going to put a pace on him for the entirety of the match.
It'll be a fun match to watch.
Yeah. And again, I am kind of concerned it goes the same way as the Pedro Mourinho match or the Garry Tonon match with both of them, where there was a lot of pushing and not a whole lot of like guys willing to make an entry into things.
Yeah. See, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with them pushing.
You're one of the people that I know that will actually like work with the grip fighting and like is interested in the intricacies of that game.
There's a difference. Like for Nogi, I'm completely fine with that the standing wrestling game and watching it and understanding like underhooks and overhooks and pushing around. When it comes to gi with grips, but I think that goes back to me when I've competed and people have grabbed grips and I haven't been able to get them off and they just kind of hold you at bay the whole time.
Right.
That drives me absolutely insane, like a crazy person.
But yeah, I think most other people on the team, we watch a standing grappling match.
Yeah, and you guys are like, that's the crappiest stuff ever.
I mean, we're not usually as nice as that.
No. But I've gotten to an argument with an auxiliary member of the team over the Josh Hinger
Wagner match. That wasn't my favorite match, not gonna lie. Was it argue with me?
It wasn't. No, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. Somebody else was like, that was the shittiest match. I was like, what do you expect? They're both like, first of all, they're both
I understood
like
the match. I understood the match.
And neither of them wanted to give the other one too much to work with.
And sometimes you get the match. It's funny. It's just funny to watch you like be fascinated by that and have like pieces that you took away from that.
Yeah.
And like me and a couple other folks on the Grappling Rewind were just like, I'm not as down for that. But it's good. I like what you bring to the team and to the show with your interest in like being able to get something out of that.
Dude, what if you can stand with somebody like that for a long period of time and just keep on like working, hand fighting and standing and no one decides to sit on their ass, then
I understand it.
Yeah.
I'd much rather guys like go for broke, go for the fences. But so I'm gonna lean Dante here. I think you're gonna lean Dante here as well.
Dante, yeah.
But I definitely think Davi has the tools to get something going. Dante has been more successful as of recently. He has been more active as of recently. He has beat more big name guys at the top of the rankings as of recently. I'm going to lean Leon not for any sort of technical reasons, but just sort of as a looking at the records, looking at who he's faced, looking at how he has faced them. I don't think he'll make the mistakes that Davi will need in order to take the match from him. I also think he's got a crazy leg lock game and potentially could like go really hard and put Ramos in some problems.
True.
But let's see. Next match. What's the next one we're going to
do? We'll do co-main. We'll go in order. Co-main is Edwin. Is it Najmi?
Najmi.
Oh, I said it right. And Jackson Nagai.
Yeah, I pulled Jackson, not Jackson Souza. I pulled his brother. I pulled Sam Nagai's record. And then you were like, that's actually Jackson. I was like, cool. All this stuff I've looked up before the show is not relevant. Yeah, I still have Sam Nagai's like BJ Heroes profile up here because I was looking at it.
And this is in gi.
This is in the gi. And so this is why I give Edwin the advantage here in the gi. Because Edwin has historically not been a no-gi guy. He's definitely had no-gi matches here and there, but he's openly talked about not being a no-gi. Even before ADCC, he talked about like not doing a whole lot of no-gi, not like competing a whole lot in no-gi, and then really just doing events in no-gi here and there. But him back in the gi, his game is tailored to that triangle setup he has, like the grip work that he has, the posture work that he has. A lot of it is contingent on him having grips on the collars, on the lapels, and just being able to lean you over and to essentially snap you down in order to pull forward and get you into like his Darce game and into his triangle game.
His Darce game is really good.
His Darce game is really good. Underratedly good. And we don't mention it a whole lot on the show, but like he's got a killer Darce game. I think his last Darce win he has actually is over Ben Lenny at Third Coast back in 2019. But I think earlier in his career, I think purple and brown belt, he was just murdering guys with the darts. He does have a bunch of darts wins in his black belt career going back to 2018, 2017, 2016.
I appreciate anybody having darts wins because I can't. My arms are way too short.
Yeah, I'm a straight up guillotine guy.
It takes way too much. I can get them set up, but I can't. Me finishing a darts is almost impossible.
I'm just a guillotine guy.
Don't listen to that if you have to roll with me. I will set up a darts story.
I'm not going to do guillotine. That's it. So as far as his path to victory, again, it's not in. We've seen Najmi have some problems in no-gi with like the heel hooks, notably in 2019 versus Garry Tonon, and then his most recent match in 2021.
He doesn't have to worry about heel hooks if they're in the gi.
But he doesn't have to worry about heel hooks because they're in the gi. So I think this kind of opens Najmi back up to not.
I'm kind of surprised that Fight to Win never let the gi guys heel hook.
Not a lot of organizations do.
Yeah.
Like I know as far as gi, Substars did it.
Yeah.
And then we saw Maggie Gundati get heel hooked in the gi, and then Good Fight used to do it. I think Josh Wantock, actually, of the Grappling Rewind, has a heel hook in a super fight in the gi.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. And then other than that, I think the only other organization I know, I have every time this comes
Grappling
up,
Industries did it when they first started, and then they took it away.
Yeah,
because when they first started, they've been
around for 10 years now.
Yeah, it was like full rules. Like you can do whatever the hell you want when they first started, and then they started bringing it back.
They brought it back to more traditional rules.
Yeah,
like Again, I think heel hooks in the gi are fine, but they are definitely a level of urgency and a level of like danger that a lot of the community doesn't train with.
And you have a lot more grips. I mean, if you're in the gi, you're holding someone's leg. I
train with some people with heel hooks in the gi, and it is like you get caught and you're like, oh, this is really, really tight. And I do not have a good avenue out of this position. It's a different game.
It's always been one of those things where I do it until I get yelled at, and then I stop doing it for a while. Then I just go back to doing it.
I do it with certain people, and like I coach enough.
I'm not going to crank anything.
I coach enough in the gyms I train at where no one gives me too much shit for it. They're like, I mean, don't do it to certain people, but like people you train with, like, but I let everyone know, like, hey, this is a thing that exists.
I've gotten yelled at
where it exists.
twice in the last couple of years for heel hooking in the gi. And one time I yelled back that I was 50 pounds less than this dude that I was rolling with, and that I could take off his foot if I wanted to. That was my response.
Reasonable response, Miranda?
Yes, reasonable.
So back to this match.
Anyway.
Edwin does not have to worry about the heel hooks or Jackson has good leg locks, but we saw Najmi really going hard in his last match versus Johnny Tama on the straight ankle locks.
Yeah.
Really hard. And then Tama made the switch off eventually in the shootout to the outside heel, I think inside heel hook, to finish him. Najmi's not going to have this problem here. He has the gi, he has the grips. We've seen him defend really, really well. He's also really, really tough. I think he takes this with the superior gi work. Again, the guy is really good, but he doesn't have the veteran matches that Najmi has, and I think Najmi will kind of push that veteran edge here. Again, this is a huge match for Jackson to kind of make a name and take a really big decision win over Najmi. I don't think he would sub Najmi. Najmi is the guy that's very good, not very good at taking a decision, but notoriously difficult to sub and very, very tough. In he'll fight out of stuff, and he's got out of stuff before that's like, wow, that's like very, very impressive that he was able to fight out of that and have the calmness to do that.
And it looks like he's well, I guess for gi it doesn't really matter, because when I went to his Instagram page today, it was him wrestling. It was him practicing a lot of wrestling stand up. But with the gi, it doesn't. I mean, he's gonna throw a flying triangle at some point.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if Jackson slams him as a result of that.
Yeah.
But I think Najmi, again, has done the ADCC. He has competed with slams before.
Yeah, he knows how to.
Trained with Agar's arm. He's trained with Hamelo, for years. He knows how to deal with that. I don't think he'll be too off-put. He's also a guy that you can slam him, he can still finish the triangle. So I'm gonna lean Edwin, kind of for the same reason I'm leaning Leon here. It's just we've seen more from him recently, even though we haven't seen a ton from him recently. He has a win at Sug 25 over Jeremy Kennedy.
Yeah.
He does have a loss for Cody Steele from referee's decision, but he has a win over Michael Lear. I think Michael Lear Jr. at Fight to Win 152 in 2020. So, and he was on Fight to Win 141, 144, 146, 152.
Weirdly, I'm agreeing with you on this one. I'll go with the champ.
That's good.
I'm not going to do
make the underdog pick.
I'm not going to go underdogs.
So that's Johnny.
This time around.
That's Johnny Grippo versus Jackson the Guy. The other match on the card that's a lot of fun.
And the last one we really know of.
Yeah, right now we only have 2 matches up.
Yeah.
Gianni Rippo versus Shamir Chantre. Apparently Gianni doesn't like that name.
Gianni
Rippo.
Rippo.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Gianni is coming off that big win on Emerald City Invitational 2. Wins over. Did he beat Keith or no?
No, he didn't beat Keith. He didn't go against Keith.
Wins over.
He went against
Kennedy Masael, Cabrera Jr., and then in his semifinal match, did he beat? Was it Damien Anderson?
Yeah, it was Damien Anderson because it was a rough match. Not a rough match, but it was a.
It's a close match.
There's a lot going on in that match.
So he's coming off of that win and $10,000, and also just like looking good. He's made some changes to his game. This is Nogi, I think, right? I think Shamir is the
yes, it's Nogi.
Shamir is
155 Nogi.
Is the Nogi champion?
Yes,
he is. So this is a title fight for
he's the
for
Gi
Grippo.
and the Nogi champion.
Yeah.
Currently.
So this is a big fight for Grippo. Grippo has just looked good.
Yeah, and like, I truthfully thought that he would be a little slower coming out. Just because we haven't seen him around.
We saw him at Elevate Your Game, and he got tapped. Yeah. He got subbed for the first time, I think, in like 7 years at Black Belt or something like that. It was like he just hadn't been submitted before, and then in that 160 tournament,
he's training with the Meows, isn't he?
He's training with Meows. He's training with Ray De Leon, Stingray. He's training with.
I know.
He's training with Alarcon too. Like
he's hanging in Jersey.
He's in Hoboken.
Oh,
which
is it Hoboken or is it Jersey?
I think it was Hoboken, but he's in Jersey. He's back in Jersey, but like
is Hoboken in Jersey?
I don't I didn't expect a follow-up geography question. He's been in Hoboken. I think they're maybe now opening a school there or something. I've heard rumors of a lot of different stuff. I can't really substantiate.
His stuff still says Marcelo Garcia.
Yeah.
But
he looked really good at this last event.
He did. He looked very good.
And he looked fast.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that that I think we haven't seen from Grippo in a little bit, but like he looked ready again, and he looked in a mindset to beat and to win that we haven't. He looked comfortable, I think is the best way to put it. Like just looking at him come onto the mat, looking at his presence, how he adjusted situations. He was calm, he was quick, and then he would move to the next match.
Yeah.
We saw that he had a great heel hook win over Ellis, one of the guys that we've trained with before in the first round that he got a lot of shit for. We talked about it that week of the show, but he looks good and he looks ready to win. I'm curious to see what game plan Shamir will. Or Samir. How you correct me on his name at the beginning.
I think it's Samir.
It is Samir. I just keep calling him the wrong name. What Chantre will implement to
only because I go to
Grippo.
look him up and I can't spell him, and I'm like, I can't find this guy.
I don't spell anything. I just copy and paste all the names. Whenever I do any of my research for anyone, I'm like, I can't spell that. Copy, paste. That saves me a lot of. I can't pronounce their names, but it saves me a lot of spelling errors.
But Samir's last performance was Castillo, right? At Fight to Win. Recently,
he beat Orlando Castillo.
Yeah.
He did lose at American Nationals to Josh Bacalao. But he also, I think, his last wins. He has a win in 2019 over Lucas Pinheiro, which is kind of the match that I was looking at as sort of the guy that would have the most parallel with Grippo. Again, Pinheiro definitely in 2019 was on the smaller end. He was a solid like bantamweight, roosterweight, kind of going between them.
And Grippo being 155 is.
I think for some reason I think Shamir is like a bantamweight.
Really?
Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but I can look up his weights. He's 73 kilograms.
I saw his post said like he was looking for somebody at 155, I guess, before they found Grippo.
Okay.
They were trying to find somebody for him.
I think Grippo's going to have a little bit of a size advantage here.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because I know that, again, the Fight to Win 123, it was at 65 kilograms.
Yeah. And they let him weigh in the day before, so you have that ability.
He also has a win in 2019 over Cole Franson, a couple losses to Isaac Doderlin and Paulo Miao. I just think Grippo overall, recently especially, he didn't compete a ton in 2019. Or sorry, not 2019, in 2020 because, he was in New York and everything was closed in New York.
The only thing that was really going on was Fight to Win, and but he won in Texas.
Yeah, but he won Pans.
Yeah.
He did have the match at Up Your Game or Elevate Your Game where he beat Johnny Tama on points. He did lose to Murasaki via triangle, but after that match, he just looks like he's sort of come out at the Emerald City, rejuvenated, ready. He talked about like his training situation, talked about putting the ego aside and like getting better at the things that. Sorry, my dog's eating something. I can't figure out what he's eating because there shouldn't be anything that he should be eating down here. Bandit, come here. All right, let me fix that. Overall, I'm gonna lean Grippo here. He's been more consistent. He has, a bunch more consistent and bigger wins recently. So I'm going to lean Grippo. Just like that performance at Emerald City Invitational just stuck out to me.
It did, and he looked good, and I think he has the advantage in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. So that's all the matches we have right now for Fight to Win 182. I love my dog eating whatever he just ate, like threw me off completely in the middle of that sentence. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but it's kind of scary sometimes when your dogs eat random stuff.
There shouldn't be anything down here to eat, so he's probably like a bug or something, but I don't know what it was. Now he's chilling here now, so that is what it is. So
then the gag sound that dogs make literally makes
and I gotta clean it up, and it's great.
Yeah.
So that does it for Fight to Win 182. That's all the matches we have. That is on August 28th. That should be a ton of fun. That's this weekend, and that's all we got this week. Yeah. Do you have anything? How was the Jeff Glover? It's now in the outro section.
Jeff Glover.
How was Jeff Glover seminar?
It was fun. It was a good time. We did deep half. He does his deep half a lot differently than I've ever learned. He does
play a really weird.
He plays a real low deep half. Yeah. Like he doesn't hook the hip. No. He doesn't do the back arm over the hip. He does both hands on the knee, and then he manipulates the knee to make them move. And then whichever direction they go, he sets it up from there.
He's super successful with it. Like he's also very quick, like in kind of a weird.
Yeah, he kept on doing these sequences where he's like, if you do this, and then this is the reaction you're gonna have, and then he gives a reaction that I've never seen anyone react ever in my entire life. He moves in ways I don't even understand.
He's a super reactive player, which is why, again, one of my favorite Jeff Glover memories ever was him doing commentary. I think it was Metamoris 2 or 3.
Yeah,
doing commentary. Taking off his shirt in the middle of doing commentary and getting up, and then he was the secret match for that card.
Oh, really?
It was wild to watch. I was like, wait, the commentary, and I was just starting watching jiu-jitsu, and I was like, is this a thing that happens? And everyone was like, no, this never happens. Like,
he can also make the shape of a heart with his feet. Because his feet are that flexible.
His feet are super flexible.
Like, I kept on staring. Like, I have this really weird thing. I kept on staring at his toes because I couldn't not. And he can move them in ways. His feet shouldn't move like that.
Yeah, he has those hand feet.
Hand feet.
Where he can just, he can manipulate you with his feet in ways that most people can't.
But his, there's some definite, like, entries that I would never have thought of. Like,
he's super unorthodox. That's why he came up with Donkey Guard. And then he did it as a joke and then made it a thing. And you were like, oh, that's like... You developed that into like a whole system.
Yeah, he went into the whole Donkey Guard and why he created it and how it happened and all of that.
It happened as a joke.
It was a fun story. Yeah.
Yeah, it started as a joke and then he just made it work in his game. And you're like, only you, Jeff Glover. He has one of my favorite matches ever. It's a demo match, like a Gracie Nationals or something, where he runs up a super heavyweight and then armbars him standing. And I always forget.
Oh, I remember that. I watched that recently.
I always forget who the super heavyweight is.
And it was something crazy. Like, the armbar is a ridiculous...
Well, it's a demo match. It's kind of like... It's not really like a real match, which I didn't know until like 2 years ago.
But it was fabulous.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. He just runs up him and then just like rolls over the side of him in midair and then armbars him from standing. And but those are the things to always remember when I think about Jeff Glover. And you're like, Jeff Glover's
he also did the seminar in sweatpants.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise
me. Sweatpants and a t-shirt. He didn't
Was it a gi or no?
No, it was no gi.
It was no gi seminar. Okay.
But he didn't put on the wife beater until afterwards.
Yeah, all the pictures you guys
and then
were
all
him
the
with
pictures
the wife beater.
were him in the wife beater.
Or a white tee, as I think is.
No, they called it the domestic. I forget.
Yeah, they call it a domestic violence shirt, but I think the technical name of the garment that he was wearing is a white tank top
or an undershirt.
An undershirt.
A white undershirt.
I don't know. In the U.S. we know it as a wife beater.
It's a wife beater. We all know it's that.
You say wife beater, I'm like, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But it was fun. It was a good time. It was a lot of entries and different things from there. Things I'll take away. Things I never really thought of. You always see something that it harks back to like a competition that you had like years ago, and if you would have known to do that, you would have freaking won.
That fix to that problem that I had 5 years ago.
Well, and the fix to it was in competitions I pull deep half. I don't pull it that much, so I had to like literally learn deep half after I started pulling it in tournaments randomly, which I don't really know how my brain decided that would be what to do.
Might not be the best course of action to learn it after the fact.
Yeah, but I learned it after the fact, and I had this one girl that twice in a row just freaking just Kimured me like twice in a row. Like I would just get under her and she fucking Kimured, and it wasn't and. He was like, well, if you didn't have the hand over the back, you just hold their knee. As soon as you go for the Kimura, you just roll them. And I was like,
oh, thanks, Jeff Glover, for that problem I had many years ago that I don't have anymore.
Rolled her over. I could have won that shit, but
that's good.
Still, those kind of things happen. But it was fun.
Any other seminars coming up for you or no?
No, I'm I'm good for a little bit. In October, I'm doing they're doing an ADCC camp at 10th Planet.
Yeah, you talked about that
in Bethlehem. Yeah, that'll be fun.
You doing trials?
No. One day, I'm almost 40. Like if they had a master's division to it,
a master's trials, like, hey, you're not going to ADCC, trials, but like, you can show up.
But they have an open that they attach to it sometimes.
Do they really?
Yeah, they had an open at the same time they have trials for like the lower belts.
I've actually never got to cover a trials live.
Yeah,
because I've always been like,
and I've thought about doing the open. Straight. Like I can do that, but dude, I'm a 39-year-old, paralegal. Yeah. I'm not training it. I train most days. I don't train every day. And if you put me in there against some like 18-year-old that like
18-year-old black belt, nothing else to do but break my limbs.
Yeah,
I want to do it once.
Gonna break something.
I gotta heal from back surgery.
I would like to do it, but I'd have to build up the confidence to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, and get hurt by like some like 18-year-old that all they do is fight.
Yeah, pretty much. First round would be some little kid.
So, yeah. I just seeing the trials come up just made me like antsy to like book my tickets for Vegas, to book my tickets out to West Coast to cover West Coast trials, book my tickets for East Coast to cover East Coast trials. Like, because East Coast trials is Jersey.
Yeah, it's not
That's
that
like
far.
A weekend trip that we can just we drive up and then like carpool and then get an Airbnb. And I can carry like 4 cases of camera gear that I have and just dispense it to everyone on Grappling Rewind and be like, all right, interview everyone and then put up stuff on the YouTube page.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be a good time. I am absolutely amped to kind of get back into covering events live because it's a whole boatload of fun. And we post a lot of stuff on the Grappling Rewind YouTube page. So if you want to follow it there, that's where most of our interviews go. And anything else?
Nope, I think that's it.
All right,
I don't think I have anything else.
That does it for this week on the Grappling Rewind. As always, I'm your host, Major, the co-host,
Miranda.
And we go to the Grappling Rewind. To see you on the mats whenever that is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.